The Forgotten Prophecy. The Dominion Council chamber floated in the void between stars, a massive structure of crystalline walls and gravity-defying architecture. Inside, representatives from 847 civilized species gathered for their monthly assembly. The air hummed with translated conversations as beings of every imaginable form discussed trade routes, territorial disputes, and scientific collaborations. High Chancellor Zorath, a being of pure energy contained within a geometric framework, called the session to order. The chamber fell silent as thousands of eyes, sensors, and perception organs turned toward the central platform. Zorath's voice resonated through every translator simultaneously, a feat of technology that had taken millennia to perfect. Honored delegates, we have an unusual request today. The Krell-Seers have asked to address this council. A wave of surprise rippled through the assembly. The Krell were an enigma, a species so ancient that their origins predated the Dominion itself. They rarely spoke to anyone, preferring to observe the galaxy from their hidden monastery worlds. Their last prophecy had been delivered 50,000 cycles ago, warning of the Vorthan plague that nearly destroyed half the known civilizations. The chamber doors opened without a sound. 3 Krell entered, their forms shifting between solid and translucent as if they existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. They moved with deliberate slowness, their presence creating ripples in the air itself. Even the most arrogant delegates felt the instinctive reverence in their presence. The eldest Krell approached the speaking circle. When it communicated, its thoughts appeared directly in every mind present, bypassing language entirely. We have seen a new thread in the cosmic tapestry. A species approaches the threshold of galactic awareness. They call themselves humans. Delegate Korthax of the Vryn Collective, a reptilian species known for their military prowess, made a dismissive gesture with his tail. The primitives from Sector 749? We have been monitoring them for decades. They are barely capable of leaving their own moon. Why would the Krell concern themselves with such an insignificant race? The Krell's form pulsed with colors that had no name, because they are unlike anything you have encountered. Their world has forged them in ways you cannot comprehend. Where your species evolved in harmony with your environments, humans evolved in spite of theirs. A holographic image materialized above the platform, showing Earth in all its chaotic beauty. Storms larger than continents swirled across its surface. Tectonic plates shifted and collided. Ice ages came and went with devastating regularity. Yet amid this violence, life not only survived but thrived. Observe their history, the Krell continued. The image shifted, showing early humans facing massive predators with nothing but sharpened stones. Instead of fleeing or evolving natural defenses, they studied their enemies, learned their patterns, and hunted them to extinction. The scene changed to humans crossing frozen wastelands, burning deserts and hostile oceans, always pushing forward, always refusing to accept limits. Ambassador Thala of the Peaceful Synthesis, a floating crystalline entity, chimed with concern. Surely aggression alone does not warrant this warning. Many young species go through violent phases. They mature with guidance. You misunderstand, the Krell replied. Their violence is not the danger. It is their refusal to accept impossibility. When they encounter a barrier, they do not adapt to it. They destroy it. When they face extinction, they do not accept fate. They rewrite it. The hologram showed human achievements. The first flight, the splitting of the atom, the curing of diseases once thought incurable, the exploration of their own solar system, all accomplished while their species remained divided, often at war with itself. Imagine, the Krell's thought echoed through the chamber, what they will accomplish when they finally unite. Imagine what they will become when they turn their relentless nature outward, toward the stars. Counselor Dravex, a methane-breathing philosopher from the Outer Rim, pulsed with skepticism. The Krell speak in riddles. Please, honored seers, give us specific dangers to prepare for. What weapons do they possess? What territories will they claim? What resources will they demand? The Krell was silent for a long moment. You ask the wrong questions. Humans do not think in terms you understand. They form emotional bonds with anything, even their enemies. They will die for strangers. They will sacrifice everything for abstract concepts like freedom or justice. They view every problem as solvable, and every setback as temporary. This makes them unpredictable in ways your strategic models cannot calculate. The eldest Krell turned slowly, its gaze touching each delegate. We have watched them for 100,000 of your cycles. We have seen them emerge from caves to build civilizations. We have watched them fall and rise again, each time stronger. They have a saying, "That which does not kill me makes me stronger." They have lived by this principle for so long that it has become encoded in their very culture. High Chancellor Zorath raised a hand for attention. Honored Krell, the Dominion appreciates your counsel. However, we have protocols for integrating new species. We have done this 846 times successfully. Whatever unique qualities these humans possess, we are confident in our ability to guide them peacefully into galactic society. Then you are fools, the Krell stated simply, without malice or emotion. But we have fulfilled our duty. We have delivered our warning. What you do with it is your burden to carry. The three Krell began to fade, their forms becoming transparent. Just before they vanished completely, the eldest spoke one final time. When the humans arrive, remember this day. Remember that we told you they were dangerous not because of what they are, but because of what they refuse to stop being. And know that everything we have shown you today represents only a fraction of their true potential. The Krell disappeared, leaving the council chamber in confused silence. For several minutes, no one spoke. Then gradually conversations resumed. Most delegates dismissed the warning as the paranoid visions of an ancient species losing touch with reality. Some made jokes about being afraid of primitives who still used combustion engines. Delegate Korthax laughed, his scales rattling with amusement. The great Krell seers frightened of apes with rockets. Perhaps they have finally lived too long. Only a handful of delegates took the warning seriously. Ambassador Thala filed a formal request for increased monitoring of the human homeworld. Councillor Dravex ordered his species historians to compile every Krell prophecy and their outcomes. Both were dismissed as overcautious by their peers. Chancellor Zorath archived the warning in the historical records under cultural curiosities and ancient testimonies, then moved on to the next item on the agenda, a trade dispute between the Helian merchants and the Crystalline Collective. The council continued its business, unaware that they had just made the most significant mistake in Dominion history. The warning was forgotten, buried under mountains of bureaucratic reports and diplomatic communications. Meanwhile, 73 light-years away, humanity continued its inexorable march toward the stars. In laboratories across Earth, scientists worked on faster-than-light theory. In military academies, strategists studied hypothetical alien encounters. In schools, children looked up at the night sky and dreamed of the day they would walk among those distant stars. They did not know they had been discussed. They did not know they had been warned about. They simply did what humans had always done. They pushed forward. They refused to accept limits. They turned their gaze toward the impossible and declared it merely difficult. In the depths of space, the Krell seers returned to their monastery worlds. They had done their duty. They had delivered their warning. Now they would wait and watch as they had always done. They knew what was coming. They had seen this pattern before in other galaxies in other times. The humans were coming and the galaxy would never be the same. 73 years passed. For the Dominion, it was barely a moment in their long history. For humanity, it was a lifetime of progress. The breakthrough came on a Tuesday in a laboratory in Geneva. Dr. Sarah Chen and her team achieved stable, faster-than-light travel. Within 5 years, humans had built their first FTL ship. Within 10, they had explored every planet in their solar system and begun reaching toward neighboring stars. The Dominion detected the first human FTL signature on a monitoring station in Sector 749. The automated systems flagged it as a new species, achieving threshold technology. Standard first contact protocols were initiated automatically. Ambassador Vexnor of the Talarian Consortium was assigned to lead the mission. Vexnor was a veteran of 23 first contact scenarios. He had successfully integrated species ranging from hive-minded insectoids to gaseous cloud beings. He viewed this assignment as routine, perhaps even boring. The humans were bipedal, carbon-based, and communicated through sound. Simple, standard, easy. His flagship, the Infinite Harmony, entered Earth's solar system 3 months after the first FTL signature was detected. The ship was 5 kilometers long, a demonstration of Dominion power and technological superiority. It was designed to inspire awe in primitive species, to make them understand their place in the greater cosmic order. What Vexnor did not expect was the human response. Within seconds of entering the system, his ship was surrounded by 200 human vessels. They were small, barely larger than shuttles, but they moved with coordinated precision that spoke of military discipline. Every major human settlement in the system had launched defensive fighters. Earth itself bristled with weapons pointed skyward. Unidentified vessel. A human voice crackled over every communication frequency simultaneously. You have entered sovereign human territory without permission. State your intentions immediately or be fired upon. Vexnor's translator struggled with the human language. The words were simple enough, but the tone carried layers of meaning his species did not possess. There was no fear in that voice, only determination and a hint of something else, something dangerous. Ambassador Vexnor opened a channel, carefully using the prepared first contact script. Greetings, people of Earth. We are representatives of the Galactic Dominion, a peaceful union of 847 civilized species. We come in peace to welcome you to the greater community of intelligent life. There was a pause. Then the human voice responded, and Vexnor heard something in it that made him remember the Krell warning from decades ago, something that made him realize with growing dread that perhaps the ancient seers had not been paranoid after all. Peace, the human said. That's good. We prefer peace too, but we've learned something important in our history, Ambassador. Peace isn't given, it's negotiated between equals. So here's our first question. Do you see us as equals or subjects? For the first time in his long career, Ambassador Vexnor did not know how to answer. When humanity united, Ambassador Vexnor stood frozen on the bridge of his flagship, staring at the holographic display showing 200 human vessels maintaining perfect defensive formation around his ship. In all his years of first contact experience, no primitive species had ever questioned their position in the galactic hierarchy. They were always grateful, overwhelmed, eager to join the Dominion. But these humans were different. We see all species as potential partners in peace and prosperity, Vexnor finally replied, choosing his words carefully. The Dominion offers protection, technology, and access to galactic trade networks. In return, we ask only that you follow established laws and contribute to the greater community. The human voice responded immediately. That sounds reasonable. Send us these laws you mentioned. We'll review them with our legal experts and get back to you within 48 hours. In the meantime, you're welcome to establish an orbital embassy. But any attempts to enter our atmosphere or land on our planet will be considered an act of aggression. Vexnor's secondary hearts began racing. You want to review our laws? These are regulations that have governed 847 species for millennia. They are not negotiable. Everything is negotiable, Ambassador, the human replied calmly. That's how diplomacy works between equals. Now, are you going to send us those laws? Or should we assume you're not here for peaceful contact after all? For 3 months, Vexnor attempted to follow standard integration protocols. Each attempt revealed just how unprepared the Dominion was for humanity. The humans questioned everything. They demanded explanations for every rule, every regulation, every precedent. When told that certain technologies were restricted for their own safety, they asked why. When told that certain territories were off limits, they asked who decided that. When told that their military must be reduced to peacekeeping levels, they refused outright. We've seen what happens to species who trust others for their protection, General Marcus Rivera told Vexnor during one particularly tense negotiation. It never ends well. We'll maintain our own defense capabilities, thank you. Vexnor sent increasingly worried reports back to the Dominion Council. The humans were not following the standard integration pattern. They were not grateful or compliant. They treated the Dominion not as benevolent saviors but as business partners to be negotiated with carefully. Worse, they were making demands of their own. We want full access to your medical databases, Dr. Sarah Chen stated during a scientific exchange meeting. We've cured diseases on our own, but we could save billions of lives across the galaxy with combined research. We want cultural exchange programs, Ambassador Maria Santos insisted. Not your people teaching us how things are done, but genuine exchange where we learn from each other. We want representation on your council, President James Cooper declared during a virtual summit. If we're joining your Dominion, we have a right to vote on decisions that affect us. The Dominion Council was appalled. High Chancellor Zorath jawaned an emergency session to discuss the human problem. Delegate Korthax advocated for military intervention. These primitives need to learn their place. A demonstration of force will humble them quickly. Ambassador Thala, who had taken the Krell warning seriously decades ago, urged caution. Perhaps we should reconsider our approach. The humans have a point about representation and autonomy. Nonsense, Korthax hissed. If we allow humans to negotiate as equals, every other species will demand the same. The entire Dominion structure will collapse. We must act now decisively. The Council voted 734 to 113 to send a military fleet to Earth. Not to attack, they told themselves, but to demonstrate overwhelming power, to show humans what resistance would cost them, to encourage cooperation through fear. It was the second greatest mistake in Dominion history. Fleet Commander Graxnell led 50 warships into Earth's solar system. Each vessel was designed for planetary bombardment, capable of reducing continents to ash. The fleet emerged from FTL space in perfect military formation, a wall of metal and power that had subdued 100 rebellious worlds. Human vessels, withdraw immediately, Graxnell broadcast on all frequencies. This system is now under Dominion military authority. Any resistance will be met with appropriate force. You have 1 hour to comply. The human response came 30 seconds later, not from a single source, but from every human ship, station, and settlement simultaneously. Millions of voices speaking as one. No. That single word, spoken in perfect unity by an entire species, sent chills through every alien present. Graxnell had never encountered anything like it. Species were supposed to fracture under pressure, with different factions arguing over surrender or resistance. But humanity spoke with one voice. You refuse to comply? Graxnell asked, disbelief coloring his tone. We refuse to submit, the unified human voice replied. You came to our home with weapons of war, demanding surrender. Did you really think we would just roll over? We've fought each other for thousands of years over scraps of land and resources. What makes you think we won't fight together when our entire species is threatened? Graxnell activated his weapon systems. Final warning. Stand down or be destroyed. What happened next would be studied in military academies for generations to come. The humans did not retreat. They did not surrender. Instead, they did something no Dominion strategist had predicted. They laughed. Across every communication channel, humans laughed. Not from hysteria or fear, but from genuine amusement. You think you're the first ones to threaten us with extinction? A human commander said, still chuckling. Our own planet has tried to kill us a million different ways. We've faced ice ages, supervolcanoes, asteroid impacts, and plagues that killed half our population. We're still here. What makes you think you'll succeed where our own world failed? Before Graxnell could respond, his sensors lit up with warnings. Human ships were launching something. Thousands of small objects spreading throughout the system like seeds on the wind. What are those? He demanded. Probes, the human voice explained cheerfully. Recording everything. We're transmitting this entire encounter to every corner of our system on quantum encrypted channels. If you destroy us, the entire galaxy will know. Every species in the Dominion will see how you respond to people who ask for basic rights. Good luck maintaining your benevolent savior image after that. Graxnell hesitated. This was not in his tactical manual. You're bluffing. No primitive species has quantum encryption. We didn't until last week, the human admitted. Funny thing about humans, Commander. When you threaten us, we don't freeze in fear. We innovate. We've been preparing for hostile first contact since we first looked at the stars. Did you really think we'd wait for you to hand us everything? The Dominion fleet held position, weapons armed but not firing. Graxnell contacted the Council for instructions. For the first time in Dominion history, the Council was divided. Some advocated for immediate attack. Others urged withdrawal. Still others suggested negotiation. While they argued, humanity acted. Dr. Chen's research team, working 80-hour weeks in underground laboratories, achieved another breakthrough. They cracked the basics of Dominion shield technology by analyzing the energy signatures from Vexnor's ship. Within days, every human vessel had basic defensive shields. They were crude, inefficient, and would only last minutes under sustained fire, but they existed. General Rivera's tactical division studied every recorded Dominion military engagement they could access from intercepted communications. They identified patterns, weaknesses, predictable responses. They developed strategies specifically designed to counter Dominion doctrine. Most importantly, humanity did something the Dominion had never seen before. Every nation, every faction, every group that had been fighting each other for generations put aside their differences completely. Not because they suddenly loved each other, but because they understood a simple truth. Divided, they would fall. United, they had a chance. On Earth, in the lunar colonies, on Mars settlements, and on orbital stations, humans worked together with a coordination that seemed impossible for such a fractured species. Scientists shared research without patents or ownership. Military forces integrated their command structures overnight. Resources flowed to where they were needed most without bureaucratic delays. The Dominion watched in growing alarm as humanity transformed itself in a matter of weeks. Ambassador Thala, studying the data, finally understood what the Krell had tried to warn them about. Humans did not just adapt to threats, they evolved in real time, turning every challenge into an opportunity for growth. They're not just defending themselves, Thala reported to the Council. They're becoming stronger because we threatened them. Every action we take against them makes them more unified, more innovative, more dangerous. Delegate Korthax dismissed her concerns. They're still primitives with inferior technology. We could crush them in hours if we chose to. Could we? Thala challenged. They've already matched our shields. They've encrypted their communications beyond our ability to crack. They've distributed their knowledge so thoroughly that destroying their homeworld would barely slow them down. And most importantly, they've done something we haven't seen in 50,000 cycles. They've united an entire species in a matter of weeks. Do you understand what that means? Before anyone could answer, alarms sounded throughout the Dominion network. The human probes had reached the edges of Dominion space. They were broadcasting on every frequency and every language, sending a simple message to all 1847 member species. To all civilizations in the galactic Dominion, we are humanity. We come in peace, seeking friendship and cooperation, but we will not surrender our freedom or autonomy. We ask you, did you join the Dominion willingly, or were you also threatened with destruction if you refused? Did you negotiate as equals, or were you forced to accept terms? If you want true cooperation instead of domination, we're here to talk, not as subjects but as partners. The message spread like wildfire. Species that had harbored resentments about their integration into the Dominion suddenly had a voice expressing their thoughts. Worlds that had accepted Dominion rule out of fear saw an example of resistance. The carefully maintained image of the Dominion as benevolent protector began to crack. High Chancellor Zorath Zhao warned Commander Graxnell. Withdraw immediately. Do not engage. This situation has escalated beyond military solutions. Graxnell obeyed, his fleet retreating to the edge of the system. But as they prepared to jump to FTL, a human vessel approached under a white flag, an ancient Earth symbol of truce that somehow seemed appropriate. General Rivera's face appeared on Graxnell's screen. Commander, before you leave, I have a message for your council. Tell them that humans remember who their friends are, and we never forget who threatens us. You had a chance to meet us as equals. Instead, you came with weapons. That was your mistake, not ours. The general paused, then continued. But here's the thing about humans that your Krell friends tried to tell you. We're also capable of forgiveness. If the Dominion wants to start over, to negotiate in good faith, to treat us as partners instead of subjects, we're willing to listen. But it has to be on equal terms. That's not negotiable. As the Dominion fleet jumped away, Commander Graxnell looked at his sensor officer. How many human vessels do we count now? The officer checked his displays twice before answering. Sir, when we arrived there were 200. Now there are over 2,000. They've built an entire fleet in 3 months. Graxnell felt something he had not experienced in his long military career. Genuine fear, not of human weapons or tactics but of what they represented. A species that turned threats into motivation. A people who unified in crisis instead of fracturing. A civilization that built faster when challenged than when at peace. Send a message to the Council, he ordered quietly. Tell them the Krell were right. Tell them humanity is not like other species. And tell them we need to find a way to make peace with them before they decide they don't need the Dominion at all. 3 weeks later, a small ship arrived at Earth carrying a single passenger. The Krell Seer materialized on the bridge of humanity's flagship, its form shifting through multiple dimensions. General Rivera, Dr. Chen, and Ambassador Santos waited to greet it. We have watched you for 100,000 of your years. The Krell communicated directly to their minds. We have seen you face extinction 17 times. Each time you survived. Each time you emerged stronger. We warned the Dominion about you, but they did not listen. Why warn them at all? Dr. Chen asked. If you knew they wouldn't listen, why bother? The Krell's form pulsed with colors that suggested amusement. Because the warning was not really for them. It was for you. We wanted to see how you would respond when challenged by a superior force. Would you submit? Would you flee? Would you fragment into warring factions? Instead, the Krell continued, you did what you always do. You unified. You innovated. You refused to accept defeat. This is why we have watched you for so long. You are the first species in this galaxy with the potential to transcend the cycle. What cycle? Ambassador Santos asked. The cycle of civilization, the Krell explained. Most species reach a point where they become comfortable, stagnant. They stop pushing forward. They stop dreaming of the impossible. But humans never stop. Your creativity is fueled by adversity. Your curiosity is powered by challenges. You are eternal children, always asking why, always reaching for what others say is impossible. The Krell's form began to fade. The Dominion will come back to negotiate. They will offer you membership as equals this time. What you do next will determine not just your future, but the future of this entire galaxy. You have broken the old pattern. Now you must help build a new one. Wait, General Rivera called out. What did you mean by transcending the cycle? The Krell's voice echoed in their minds as it vanished. You will understand in time. For now, know this, you were right to refuse submission. But you must also be wise enough to choose cooperation when it is offered genuinely. The galaxy needs what you have, not your weapons or technology, but your refusal to accept limits, your insistence on dreaming, your absolute conviction that tomorrow can be better than today. Teach them that. Remind them that stagnation is not peace, comfort is not prosperity, and safety is not worth the price of freedom. Do this, and you will change everything. 6 months later, the Dominion Council met with human representatives for the first time as equals. Treaties were signed, technology was exchanged, cultural programs were established, but more importantly, something fundamental had changed in the Dominion. Other species, inspired by humanity's example, began demanding reforms. The council structure was altered to include representation from all member worlds. Laws that had stood unchanged for millennia were reviewed and modified. The Dominion transformed from an empire of submission into a true coalition of equals. And at the center of this transformation stood humanity. Not as conquerors or rulers, but as the catalyst that reminded an ancient civilization of something it had forgotten. That progress requires challenge. That unity requires respect. That the greatest civilizations are not built on compliance, but on the courage to question, to dream, and to reach for the impossible. Years later, Ambassador Vexnor stood in the human embassy on the Dominion capital world. He looked at a plaque on the wall, inscribed with words that had become famous across 847 worlds. We are humanity. We do not kneel. We do not submit, but we will stand beside you as equals, and together we will reach for the stars. Vexnor smiled, his translator catching the nuance in his voice as he spoke to his human assistant. The Krell were right. They warned us about you, but they did not tell us that the danger you posed was not to our bodies but to our comfortable certainties. You forced us to become better. Thank you for that. The assistant, a young woman named Jennifer Martinez, grinned. Ambassador, that's what humans do best. We look at impossible situations and ask, why not? We face overwhelming odds and say, watch this. We're told something can't be done, so we do it twice just to make a point. She looked out the window at the stars beyond. The galaxy dismissed the warnings about us. They thought the danger was what we would do to them. They never considered that the real danger was what we would inspire them to become. Better, braver, free. Now, she turned back to Vexnor with that distinctly human expression of determined optimism. We have an entire galaxy to explore, new friends to make, and impossible problems to solve. That warning your people ignored 73 years ago? It was never about fear. It was about potential, ours and yours and everyone's. So, Ambassador, shall we get to work changing the universe? Vexnor's translator struggled with the emotion in his response, finally settling on a simple human phrase he had learned. Let's do it. And across 847 worlds, the species of the Dominion looked to the stars with renewed wonder, remembering something they had forgotten in their millennia of comfortable certainty. The future was not something to manage or control. It was something to reach for with both hands, to embrace with open hearts, and to build together with courage and hope. Humanity had reminded them of that. And the galaxy would never be the same.